Hey YouTube, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Check this out. I do have my Flysky Noble NB4 here. Not the new Noble Pro, the old NB4. And I do have 4 receivers here and all work simultaneously. 4 different types of receivers, 2 classic ones, the FG4, 4 channel, the FG4S, also 4 channel, the tiny micro receiver GMR, and the 8 channel receiver FGR8B, and all of those work simultaneously. I do have 4 steering servos, I do have 4 motors, all of them work. Motor 1, 2, 3, and tiny here motor 4. I do have 4 light switch on channel 3, so 4 lights will lit up. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I do have a servo on channel 4 on a 3 position switch. 1, 2, 3. Where's the 4th though? Here, 4. Shut up. The 8 channel receiver of course does have 4 more free channels, so I do have a 5th servo on channel 5. I do have a 6th servo, channel 6, channel 7, and channel 8. Super loud old analog servo, doesn't like digital. Shut up. And all work simultaneously. And in this video I will show you how to do this. There are 2 ways. The 2 receiver mode, doesn't want to shut up, which can only be done with the enhanced receivers, so with my 8 channel and my micro receiver. And then there's a further way where you can connect probably as many receivers as you want by changing the protocol, and I will show you in this video how this works. And by the way, this works with 1, 2, 3, 4. I can switch off, for example, 1 and 3 work, and I can switch this receiver on again. I can switch off the 8 channel receiver, 3 others work. I can switch it on again, it will still work with a lot of noise. And where's the switch of this? Can switch this off. Quite a messy thing. Well, oh, now I switched it on again, switch it off, and switch this one off. Now I do have only 2. Where's the noisy servo? It's on the 8 channel. Now I do only have 1. It's this cheap servo. Let's switch it off. Switch on the tiny receiver again, will work. Switch on the FGR4S again, those 2 will work simultaneously. And now I'll show you the 2 ways how to do this, but therefore I will clean up this mess before. And guys, if your receivers don't work, you probably will not have upgraded it to the latest firmware. So In the classic receivers you do already know how to do this. You can do it only by the radio and have to plug the bind plug on the signal port that way from bind to channel 4 and then update via radio. And in the enhanced receivers you will have to do the forced update. You will have to download the software, the small software from Flysky website, and connect your Noble to your computer, and then you will have to press the bind button here and here. Those two do have bind buttons, and then power the receiver up. Still press the bind button for about 10 seconds. Then there are 3 slow blinks, and then those receivers are in the forced or enhanced upgrade mode, and you can start the upgrading of the receiver with the software with your computer. You will need a computer for this. And now I will show you how to set up the normal 2 receiver mode, which can be normally done with the radio, but this works only with the enhanced receivers. So I will use the small GMR, the 4-channel and the 8-channel receiver for this, both at enhanced receivers. This will not work with the classic receivers, so with my FGR4 and 4S. And how to do this? Simply go to receiver set as normal, and then you have receiver bind. And then you have to change from classic receiver to enhanced receiver. Yes, you will have to bind everything new again. And then you have here this position to receiver mode. And then click this. We'll have to bind everything again. Yes. And now you can bind a master receiver and a slave receiver. You have 2 additional positions here for set master start channel and set slave start channel. I couldn't manage this. I couldn't get this to work. I thought, okay, maybe you could set some channel push button, channel 3 or whatever, to switch on and off the slave receiver. But as soon as I changed this here from steering to any other position, you can use any channel or choose any channel. It doesn't work anymore. I don't know what the problem is. Maybe some of you know, and then please write in the comments. But now let's simply bind the master receiver, and I will use the small GMR for this. I do have a ESC now with on-off switch. Press the bind button, fast blinking, and bind master receiver. Done. Everything fine. Can switch off, on. I don't know if you have to do this. And you see all 4 channels work. Channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, the light switch, and channel 4 is further servo. And now I switch it off again. I don't know if that's necessary. Yes, signal lost. And we go to receiver set again. Yes. And we go to bind set again. We are already in enhanced to receiver mode, and now we will bind the slave receiver, and I will use the 8-channel receiver for this. So press the bind button and switch it on. Fast blinking, and now bind slave. And now this one does work also. And if I switch on the master, the small, they work in parallel. So that's super nice for a trailer. You do have steering signal for turning lights, you do have throttle signal, second motor for reverse lights, you do have a channel 3 button. So you can use this of course for your light controller. Maybe put the same light controller in the trailer and in the truck. And we do have channel 4. I set it to this position, so this servo will work, and this small sub-X should work too. Yes, and then we do have more channels. The slave receiver does have 8 channels. I set channel 5 to this position. This servo does work. I set channel 6 to this position, which servo does work. Not this servo. And I set channel 7 and 8 to those two. And channel 8, the large servo instead of the noisy servo. And what's quite nice, if you switch one of the receivers off, the master receiver is disconnected, but the slave receiver still does work. Okay, I don't want to hear it all the time, but you can switch it on again and everything will work. And if you switch off the slave receiver, the Noble complains again, but the master receiver will still work okay. And you can switch it on again, and all 8 channels will work again. So that's super cool, but it's a pity this does not work with the classic receivers like the FGR4S. Still complaining. If you try to bind a classic receiver, you go to receiver set again, bind set, and then if you change to classic receiver, this does only work with the classic receivers, of course, but you do not have a 2 receiver mode anymore, and you can only bind this one receiver. And if you go to enhanced again, you have the old setup. But the big problem is, you saw what I did now. I changed this. Both receivers are on, but they will not work anymore. I will have to bind those again. So that's a bit of a pain. As soon as you changed, you will have to bind your 2 enhanced receivers again. So switch off, go again to receiver set, bind set, enhanced receivers, bind master receiver, press bind button and switch it on. And everything works again. And now let's try to bind the slave receiver without switching off the master receiver. We will see if this works too or not. So press the bind button, switch it on, and bind slave.
Signal lost.
Yes, does also work that way. So that's it. Super simple. Only problem I do have, as already mentioned, set master start, set slave start. Would be super nice if this would work, but I show you now. I set it to channel 3 and will of course switch off this servo. No, I will switch off the whole setup. And now I will switch it on. Channel 3 is the light switch, but motor and everything gets crazy if I set this. You see motor, you hear motor is running. Where is it? Here it is. I don't know why. And now I change it again to steering. And everything should be fine again. Not at all. Yes, now it's fine again. Don't know what the problem is. Would be super nice if you could make one channel for switching off receiver 2, but it seems not to work for me. And now I will show you how to bind the classic receivers or also the enhanced receivers. This is not a receiver, that's a super cheap ESC. A different way, and that way you can even bind more than 2. You can bind 3, 4, I don't know how many. So to bind more than one receiver, classic receiver or enhanced receiver, to the radio, that way you will have to change the AF-HDS3 two-way to AF-HDS3 one-way. The disadvantage is you will lose telemetry functions. First thing you have to do, go to Model and then Radio Frequency Setup. And here you will have to change from standard AF-HDS3 two-way to AF-HDS one-way. Yes. And go back. And that's the trick. Bind plug into bind position. Switch it on, fast blinking, and then go to classic receiver or enhanced. It works on both. And then check this. Now there's slow blinking instead of fast blinking. There will be no confirmation. This will not stop, but now the receiver is bound. Switch it off, stop this. Switch it on again, and you see, switch it on without bind plug. Switch it on, and you see, motor runs to only have the ESC on this receiver, so no confirmation, but it's still bound. And what's quite fancy, check this out, works. And if you do have two models with exactly the same settings, it will not work if settings are different, I found. Then it will, you can even bind the receiver, or it will be bound, connect to two different models. You see I'm here on model 12 now, and I go now to model 11. What's model 12? One way I named it, multi receiver test. Yes, go back, and still works. But it will not work even if the model is set to one way, if the settings are not exactly the same. So now let's bind a further receiver to this port. Let's take this one with bind plug. Insert the bind plug, switch it on, fast blinking, receiver set. I'll switch off the other. Bind, classic, start bind. Blinks slowly, should be bound. Let's switch it off. Let's go back here. And take off the bind plug first. And you see, works. And if I switch on this receiver again, works too. And of course I can also bind the third one. You did already see it in my starting scene. Insert bind plug, switch it on, and again go to bind, classic, okay, start bind. Now it blinks slowly, should be bound. Switch it off, switch it on again, and hopefully works. So now it does work. You have to stop this process. Now I bound 3 receivers again to 1 port, and because I know my model 11 multi-receiver test does have exactly the same settings as my model 12 one-way, I can change this and everything will still work with 3 receivers now. And of course, as you've seen in the beginning, it also works with 4 and also with enhanced receivers, but I won't show you this now. So super nice. For what would you need 2 receivers? For a trailer, of course, 3 receivers. I don't know, maybe if you have 2 different trailers, or if you want to run 3 trucks side to side. 4 receivers, yeah. Some people maybe do have 10 trailers, I don't know. But you don't need the new Noble Pro to connect more than 1 receiver to the Flysky Noble. It also works with the old NB4. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope to see you in the next video. I'll be back.